Getting split ready.
Getting split ready.
For my wife, God rest her soul.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
No, she's not dead. We're just divorced.
Unscripted and honest discussions on divorce and separation.
Getting split ready.
What was I supposed to tell him? I divorced you from the show?
Here's your hosts, Doug Katz and Mariah Pleasant.
All right, welcome to the April podcast for Split Ready for 2021. Today we got a show that is really focused on things that are hot right now: real estate, mortgages, and we'll talk a little bit about taxes. And with us, our guest today is Julius Dickens, great realtor from Dream Town Realty and fellow West Pointer, class of '99. So someone near and dear to my heart, someone you can definitely trust. So we're going to jump right in. And Julius, right now, it may be surprised to be what the real estate market is a little bit hot right now. What do you think about that right now?
You know what? Thanks for having me. First of all, it's great to join. The market is extremely hot, especially in the suburban / northwest side of Chicago, where you have a lot of single family homes in the neighborhoods. It's not uncommon to have multiple offer on just about every house that you bid on. So it really, it takes a lot of effort for buyers agents to make their buyers successful in this market. It is extremely hot.
And how long do you think this is going to continue? I've heard different things. I saw some stuff recently. I think it was the economist from Freddie Mac was kind of saying it might cool down. What do you think you're going to see?
Well, I think, it all depends on two factors. One, the interest rates, which I know is something that you follow daily as a great loan officer. I think as interest rates get higher, we probably will see some demand from the buyer side cool off, and that could be healthy. I'm not opposed to that. The other thing is I've been watching closely this forbearance issue. The forbearance program basically says to all homeowners, hey, if you have a hardship, or even if you don't prove a hardship, you don't have to pay your government-backed mortgage right now. So you're getting a break. And my thoughts, first of all, for a lot of people, that's a godsend, right? Because we all know people who've lost their jobs due to the pandemic. But the other side of that is that hurts first-time home buyers, because there's a lot of people out there that would be putting their homes on the market, and they can no longer do that really because they've got such a great deal with forbearance. So, it's really constricting the market. And as long as that continues, I think we're still going to be in a tight inventory environment.
Why do you think the market is so hot right now? You wouldn't think that a worldwide pandemic would be stimulating to people moving and buying new houses.
Well, just anecdotally, I've seen a lot of my past clients that I helped them buy condos 3, 4, 5 years ago. They're in the house. There's 2 or 3 people in the house together, and they just need more space. They're in there 24/7, and it's hit a lot of people. I can't really go to the restaurants because my favorite restaurant is closed downtown. And B, I just need more space. So a lot of them are packing up and selling their condos and buying single family homes.
Our show obviously is about mostly divorce, but anytime people are splitting up. And I can't help but think about with what's going on right now, the timing question, right? Like, people have their own timeline, and I hear people moving saying, I'm going to sell when my kids are done with high school, as an example. And that's based on life cycle. But the market and your life cycle don't always intersect. Yeah. So if you had people right now who were analyzing their situation and trying to decide whether or not they had to sell, but based on a divorce, they might have 18 to 24 months, whatever. They might have to sell now. What advice would you give them in analyzing it?
Well, given that this market is just something that we haven't seen as far as this strength, we haven't really seen this since 07, 08. I would say 07, right before it dropped off. I would say, move that timeline forward if your time frame is only 18 months. If it's 18 months or 2 years, there's a strong possibility that this is the strongest seller's market that you're going to see during that time frame. Just move it forward, especially if you have a place to go on the back end.
Right.
I think
So
that's
go ahead.
I think a lot of people are hesitant because it's a great seller's market, but then once they sell, they become buyers on the flip side of that coin, and the inventory is just not there for a lot of people.
I agree. I think some people should consider at least becoming a renter, at least short term, until they figure out where they're going to land with some sense of certainty.
What are rents looking like for comparable? Is it a situation where if they are in that divorce situation, they're looking to maximize equity, and they can do that, and then they're moving into a rental situation? Is it likely they might be paying less?
So that's a great question. I think it all depends on what you're looking to rent. If you're looking to rent a single family home, the rents are still very high. It's tough to find a single family home because demand is there, and there's a lot of landlords that have looked at this seller's market and said, well, I'm no longer going to be a landlord. I'm going to go ahead and sell into this market. So it's still tough as a renter, I think, if you're looking for a single family home. But that being said, the downtown condo market is the exact opposite. You can pick up a really good deal in the rental market for condos. These are privately owned condos. You can get a good deal. You can get an even better deal with some of these luxury rental buildings. I hear of incentives of 2 and 3 months for free. So there are options if you're willing to be in a condo.
You were talking a little bit earlier, and I liked what you were saying about forbearance as an example. Do you think there's that much pent up demand? Are people coming to you and saying, hey, I'm thinking about, I was in forbearance and I'm not going to be able to make my payments. I'm going to have to maybe sell. Are you talking to a lot of people who are in that situation?
We're not hearing from those folks right now. I think in a lot of situations, they may be a little embarrassed. But the other part of it is, if you have forbearance and they keep extending it, why would you look to get out of that situation? The incentives don't line up for someone in forbearance to sell their home. It just doesn't, because now they're going to get into a new situation where they have to pay every month, which eventually, in theory, everybody's going to eventually have to pay again.
Right.
But it's been going on and it keeps getting extended, and we just have no idea when this is really going to end.
Go ahead.
I think people forget that renting is an option sometimes when they've been homeowners for multiple years or multiple decades. I think that when people are especially going through a divorce or any big transition in life, right, that maybe you don't commit to your next house right away. You take advantage of the seller's market and rent for a year or two. Let some dust settle, let some things kind of figure themselves out, because it is a big enough transition to end a marriage that maybe you don't make giant decisions on the front of where you're going to live. I think that's a good point to make to people who are in this process.
So, Julius, the other question I would have is, it being a seller's market, right? There's the equity that you're going to get, and most people generally think of equity as, here's what I'm going to sell the house for, here's what I owe, and here's what I maybe have to pay the realtors. And I'm going to ask you a little bit about FSBO in a minute, but here's what I got to pay the realtors. But there is that, unless you moved into a really new home or something, there's deferred maintenance and all that.
Yes.
But aesthetically, you can get away with a little more now. Do you think that that's a good incentive to potentially sell, to save money when you got people willing to pay cash sight unseen?
Yeah, it all depends on how you've maintained your home. I think the more deferred maintenance that you have, probably the more likely you should sell now. Because like you say, it is a seller's market. And if it's a single family home with a roof that only has 5 years left,
Yep.
A furnace that has all kinds of rust on it, you can tell it's towards the end of its life. It might be a good time to just sell, because a lot of buyers will, in the interest of being the winning bid, will say, you know what, we don't care about those things. We just want the house. Now, fast forward that to 2 years from now, and of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but it could be back to a more equal playing field where buyers and sellers are battling it out, and sellers are in a position where they have to stroke big checks to give credits for deferred maintenance. So it is an incentive, especially if your house has some nicks and bruises, to go ahead and sell now.
With the representation question, right? Greed and fear drive the market. Right now, I think on the seller side, there's probably more greed. With that, they look and they don't want to write that big check to the realtors.
Sure.
And they think they can throw a line in the water and sell it like that. And in divorce situations, I think there's a special sensitivity to equity and looking and saying, we don't want to write, if we're selling our house for $500K, we don't want to write a $25,000 check to whoever.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
Of course, I have a vested interest in people being represented, but I truly think that you are better off being represented. There's all types of ways that realtors can be value add in that situation. I can think of a couple of reasons why you would definitely want a realtor. You definitely don't want to underprice your property. And let me tell you, there are lots of investors out there that will try to convince you that your property is worth less than what it really is. You certainly want a realtor that has a strong Rolodex of contractors to help you prepare your house. If you're out there doing it on your own, you could make a mistake and get the wrong contractor, which would lead you to getting a second contractor to fix the problem that the first contractor made. So, there's real reasons why the real estate community continues to thrive. It's because the expertise is needed.
I think too that having that set of eyes comes in to your house that knows what buyers are looking for. We kind of get blinded to our own homes, I think. And someone else can come into the home and say, you need to refresh your laundry room, you need to put up some curtains here. And those little things really do make a big difference. And I think that we don't necessarily see them in our own home because we get so accustomed to it.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the greed part about it too, right?
Something I didn't know prior. So if I am going through a divorce and we're selling our house, $500,000 house, and then we're both going to purchase a house, sometimes realtors are willing to negotiate for multiple deals, right? Like you're not going to always necessarily pay full commissions if you're giving 3 deals to the same realtor. And I think that's important for people to know too.
Absolutely. I know of many realtors that would negotiate given on, if they're getting a certain volume of deals out of it. It would just make sense.
And divorces by nature tend to be more than one transaction.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great show today, and my dogs are going berserk, so I've got to end it because otherwise it'll be the fun of podcasting from home. I really want to thank our guest, Julius Dickens. Fantastic realtor, great input. Dream Town Realty is where you're at, but if they want to get hold of you, how can our listeners get hold of you?
Sure. My cell phone is a great way to get a hold of me, 312-451-8894. And you can reach out to me via email at jdickens, JDICKENS @dreamtown.com. Thanks for having me today.
No, thank you so much. And I see a repeated guest appearances coming because I think you give great advice. So, what I would say is if you like what we do, not you, Julius, I know you like what we do, but if our listeners subscribe, share our information, share this podcast, check out SplitReady.com. There's great resources to get split ready, and know that if you're separating or getting divorced, that what the right way to go is, or at least what the right considerations are. So, Mariah, you want to take us out? It's been a while.
I don't even remember. You need to know what you don't know. So if you or someone that is thinking about getting split ready, or thinking about divorce, go to our website. And we really do believe that it is possible to move through your divorce with your finances, your integrity, and hopefully your sense of humor intact. And we want you to have access to the information that'll help you get there.
Fantastic. So thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you in May.